Just a week ago, I was on cloud 9 after seeing not one, not two, but 3 great movies in a row at the theaters. I was literally on a hot streak. But then I went to see the new A24 horror movie that has been getting a lot of praise on social media. And that should have been red flag number 1 that my streak was about to come to an end. I apologize in advance if I use the word dumb a lot in this review, but that's just how I'm feeling. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
Talk to Me follows a group of friends who discover how to conjure spirits by using an embalmed hand. They become hooked on the new thrill until one of them unleashes terrifying supernatural forces. I understand that a lot of people think that A24 has this impeccable reputation as a movie studio. And they do deserve a lot of credit, at the very least, for consistently investing in original ideas. They are one of the few movie studios who doesn't consistently rely on established IPs. But as someone who appreciates movies with original concepts, I also have to point out that just because something is original doesn't mean that it's good.
That makes sense.
And I think because A24 rolls the dice on a lot of movies like this, their track record is very hit or miss, in my opinion. And to me, their more underwhelming films typically blur the line between being pretentious and downright too weird for their own good. Now, I wouldn't call Talk to Me pretentious, but there are moments in the film where the movie thinks that it's smarter than it actually is.
I can handle things, I'm smart!
There's a moment early on in the film where 2 of the main characters come across this kangaroo that's suffering on the side of the road. And there's this whole conversation between them about doing the right thing and putting the animal out of its misery. A lesson that will predictably come into play later on in the film in another situation. And I just found the whole metaphor or foreshadowing, whatever you want to call it, to be really dumb. 1, because it's too on the nose to actually be intelligent. And 2, because I'm fairly sure I've seen this exact scenario in a horror film before. And I think it symbolically ends up having more meaning later in that film as well. I can't think of what the film is, maybe you guys can help me out on that. But right off the bat, in this supposedly fresh and unique film, things are already starting to feel familiar, so that's not a good sign.
You're pathetically predictable.
To the film's credit, the overall premise is somewhat unique, and it's actually relevant as it pertains to examining how people, or more specifically teenagers, do dumb on the internet for attention.
Stop it!
The issue is that just because we know teenagers are capable of doing things that they shouldn't, it doesn't mean that it excuses them from being stupid. And the actions of a lot of characters in this movie, quite honestly, just made me root against them. This is very much a around and find out type situation. And at the end of the day, I really didn't care much for any of these people to the point that I actually cared about them getting out of this situation.
If he dies, he dies.
It's like when people were eating Tide Pods on social media and getting sick, and I'm just sitting there like, well, common sense says not to eat Tide Pods. And common sense also tells me not to conjure up spirits for fun. It's probably not going to end well. The most unlikable character in this cast full of unlikable characters happens to be the main character, Mia. It's very clear that we are supposed to feel sorry for her. She has a tragic backstory, and this traumatic event that happened to her prior to the events of the film, something that almost every main character in a horror movie has in the modern era, by the way. The difference here is that Mia's past hasn't made her sympathetic, it's made her downright unlikable.
Why are you the way that you are?
This is especially clear when her actions is what gets another member of the group in serious trouble and badly injured. And the film wants me to forget that she's responsible for that just because she is desperate to talk to her mother who passed away. Not only that, but throughout the course of the film, she's also trying to steal her best friend's boyfriend because she wants to get laid because I guess that's going to make her feel better.
A, she was a hooah. B,
She was a hooah.
What's funny is they try to portray her best friend as being the unreasonable one, but in reality she might be the most sensible and likable person in the whole movie, besides that one moment in the film where she leaves her younger brother with a group of degenerates. I also enjoyed the mom character in this film, who channels her inner me and tells these kids on more than one occasion how dumb they are actually being. Good on you, Mom. This film also kind of glosses over the origin of this embalmed hand. In actuality, we get a little bit, and I didn't really need a play-by-play on how it came into existence. What I don't seem to understand is how these annoying teenagers came into possession of it in the first place, or how they know how to use it. It's addressed in a line of dialogue where one of the characters basically says, "We got it from a guy who got it from a guy."
Did you talk to the guy?
What guy?
The guy with the thing.
And that's about it. These dumb teenagers just so happen to come across this supernatural artifact in their travels through suburban Australia. Now I know what you're thinking, well maybe the characters in the story are underwhelming, but perhaps some of the horror elements make up for it. This film, after all, is being marketed as one of the more disturbing movies to come out in recent years.
Bullshit.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but there was absolutely nothing memorable, scary, or original about the horror aspects of this film. In fact, most of it is very been there, done that, and certainly nothing about it is disturbing. One scene involving one of the possessions offers a decent bit of violence, albeit self-inflicted violence, but for a film that's being praised as a fresh spin on classic ideas, it certainly left a lot to be desired.
Not impressed.
As I watched this, I couldn't help but think about all of the other horror films in recent memory that got similar praise, only for me to end up feeling similarly underwhelmed by them. And it got me thinking, are people just too easily impressed by seemingly mediocre horror now? I gave a lot of praise to the horror genre last year because there was a series of original horror films that came out that made me feel like we were heading in the right direction. But if I'm being honest, this year has been completely forgettable when it comes to horror. 2023 seems like a massive step backwards as it pertains to progressing the genre into new territories. Talk to Me tries to offer something special, but completely fails in its execution.
That is why you fail.
The only real good things about it were some decent performances and the use of practical effects. Truthfully, there probably is a really good movie in here somewhere, but this version ended up being a bland story with familiar elements that have been done better before, and enough dumb characters to make you think that this movie was purely inspired by the TikTok generation. Talk to Me was a complete waste of time from start to finish, and that's why I'm going to be giving it the Angry Rocky.
That's right, it stinks! Y'all be cool. Right on.